Odie Hawkins.
Zola Salena-Hawkins.
Hi, are you ready for Moments in Time?
I hope so.
All right, I guess I'll come and join you. All right.
You coming to sit near me?
I sure am.
Oh, God, I love that outfit.
Why, thank you.
It looks tie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get it?
One of my girlfriends got it for me, or Linda. Linda. Mm-hmm.
So that fits right in line with what we're talking about, which is travel.
Amen.
You couldn't get that if you didn't go
I
to that place.
I see, definitely.
Oh, wow.
So today we are going to deal with your trip, a little bit more of Spain.
Okay,
and then we're going to segue into Africa.
Into Africa.
Okay.
I'm so pleased to be able to do this. I can't tell you. Because,
Toast to travel.
I'm drinking tea.
Toast
What
to
are
travel.
you drinking?
Palm.
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 I bet my tea is stronger than your palm.
I bet it is. But you're stronger too.
It has kind of a Bordeaux flavor to it.
Oh, yours does, okay. Mine has a pomegranate.
Pomegranate. Well, that's good too. No, I was bringing myself out of Spain. I came back to America, and one of the reasons why we're talking about these transcontinental things is to acquaint some people with us.
Yes.
Oz. They're beginning to call us, yeah, Odie and Zola Oz.
Oz.
Anyway, after a year in Spain, living in this apartment with this incredible landlady.
You can remember her name. The fact that you can remember.
Sarafina Sanchez Gomez. How could you forget that?
I guess not.
Who was filled with all kinds of tragedies and angustias and.
She reminds me of a gypsy. For her
but
not
she
to
hated
like,
gypsies.
to like, oh yeah.
The woman was so biased.
Mm-hmm.
She said, the gypsies, they love their music. I love their singing. I love their art.
Mm-hmm.
But they're dirty, filthy people, and they should have been banished from Spain a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
She had a problem with me because obviously I wasn't a gypsy.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't know enough about the American racial situation to place me. She thought I was un escritor, a writer. And that's all.
That's all. Okay, right. Okay.
We could go on and on about Fina, but let me take us back home, come back to America. And I've always had this feeling of not being at home in America. I love America. America is one of the great experiments this world has ever seen.
Yes.
And the fact that it's all...
Still in progress.
Well, it never has lived up to the ideals and expectations. Well, that's a shame, but
you know,
it's still way ahead of some.
Yes.
Nobody else has professed it all, equal and so forth and so on. Anyway, I came back, and fast forwarding a lot.
Yes.
I wound up living in a friend's garage. He called it a rumpus room because he had a pool table in there. Okay. But it was really a garage. I was homeless. And he said, well, you can stay in the rumpus room. Okay. And, straighten it out. All I had to do was take all of the Playboy magazines and pile them in a corner. And, oh, I love her. But, you can stay there. So I stayed in this rumpus room in Torrance for 2 years. And it was a very, very deep moment. Speaking of moments in time.
That and the fact that you missed an opportunity to perform in Germany, I think.
Yeah. I had met a man African-American man who had gone to Germany after his service time was over. And he had become more Germanic than the Germans. He spoke perfect German.
Oh.
The African-American from Oakland, matter of fact.
But you remember a lot of your German, too.
Well, my German is...
Rudimentary.
I speak it only as necessary.
I see. Okay.
Is alles in Ordnung?
Alles ist in order.
Because everything is order, right? Anyway, I call him Kurt. Somebody introduced me to Kurt, and Kurt said, I have this television program in Cologne. I'd like to have you come and write for me. The problem he was having had to do with trying to express his African roots to the Germans. He really wanted to do that. A lot of them thought of him as a Mischling. A Mischling. He was a mixed person. He wasn't. He was African American.
Okay.
So far as he knows, so far as he could tell me, he only had people in his background who were Europeans. But he just fallen in love with the culture and so forth and so on. We had a meeting. He was married to a German woman. They had a son named Julian. Julian was a holy terror. Really, he was a brat. That boy.
Son well spoiled.
What was it? He was Chucky in person. We went to a Thai restaurant up in Oakland to have a meeting, and about every 15 seconds, Kurt had to go find Julian, who was not only that, he didn't speak anything, he only spoke German.
Oh my God, the kid did?
The kid.
Okay.
So he was causing problems. Fast forward again, my friend's daughter was supposed to pick up the message of coming from Kurt to alert me when I should be ready to go to Cologne to become writers on this television show. The way he explained it was something like Saturday Night Live.
Oh.
Because this man was bold enough to do impersonations of Hitler.
Whoa. In Germany?
In Germany.
Oh my God.
This is 1963 or something like that.
Oh. Okay.
But the Germans, who had started to make amends for their Nazi period, took it and elevated him. Okay. Anyway, I found out that he had called weeks later and that my friend's daughter had mislaid the message.
She put it on top of the refrigerator, a place you would obviously look.
She may have put it under the refrigerator, I don't know, but I didn't get it. And so I didn't go to Cologne, Germany to become a writer on a African-German television. Back to the rumpus room.
Yes.
I decided, you know, I've never been an Africanista. You know what I mean? These people who say, you know, I got to go to Africa because I'm black. I got to go to Africa to find out what the deal is. I was never in that mode. Really. At my high school, she became a doctor, Margaret Burroughs, promoted the idea of Africana. But she didn't push the notion of going to Africa to find yourself and so forth. Well, it wasn't that, but I had been some other places. Why not go to Africa? I might come across a stray aunt or uncle or something.
There you go.
You know?
Hey, you never know.
So how do I get there? I'm living in my friend's garage. I think I was receiving $138 a month VA pension for war, non-war connected disabilities. But I thought, I know what, I'll write 2 novels and turn them into Holloway House. This really, really awful, terrible, nasty, awful, bad publishing company.
It was beneficial at the time, though. It was beneficial at the time.
terrible, awful, bad,
Right,
nasty.
okay. It was the only venue one could dump your work.
But they loved what they could do because they could exploit me.
Well, they like street lit. Even though they like street lit, although all your work is not street lit.
Not street lit. That's a very good point to make.
Yes.
I was trying to write about everything.
I know.
So I got in touch with the editor. So yeah, bring us what you got. I've even forgotten the 2 books that I took to them, which was going to furnish the airplane round trip ticket. Because I thought, what if I get over there and I hate the place and I got to get back. So I had a round trip ticket. I went in May of 1962 when the police, just after the police had stopped beating Rodney King for a couple of minutes. They tried to kill him. We saw that on the video. And incidentally, I think it was the beginning of white involvement with Black Lives Matter cause, because the person who filmed that from his balcony was a guy named Holiday, who filmed the Rodney King beating. If he had kept it in his archive, he would have been another George Floyd things without. Anyway, that had happened. I bought my ticket. I decided to go to Ghana. I decided to go to Ghana for several reasons, which is why we decided to go to Ghana. And we'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
We'll get to that. 1962. Oh, here's looking at you, kid.
He's looking at you, kid.
Oh, that's pomegranate juice.
Yes.
Have you tasted my tea?
No, your tea is too strong for me.
May 1962, the plane is circling on its way to New York, and I'm looking down at smoke rings curling up from the riots that happened in LA after the mistrial of the King beating. I mean, they tried to beat that brother to death. All I can say, he's strong because he survived it, he came out of it. Can't we all get along?
That was admirable of him.
Well, it wasn't it?
But that's so African American. Or that's so African.
You got a point.
Okay.
That's so African. That's so African. Okay, I had decided, after having done a lot of research, to go to Ghana. The reason why is that I didn't want to try to learn another language. Ghana is majorly English speaking. To the north is Cote d'Ivoire, the country to the north. This is French speaking. The country to the east, Burkina Faso, is French speaking. Muslim, French speaking. It's practically nothing but desert because of what's happening with the encroachment of the climate disaster that's happening to this world. And then to the south is, was it Togo or Gabon? I think it's Togo. Anyway, Ghana is surrounded by French-speaking countries. But doing my homework, Ghana became independent in 1957. The first president was Kwame Nkrumah, and it was very receptive to African Americans for a whole bunch of different reasons. Number one, Kwame Nkrumah had gone to a traditionally black, what do you call it, the usual black college in America.
Right, okay.
I want to say habitual black college, but that's not it.
Historical.
Black college, I think it was Lincoln.
Okay.
So he had some affinity for who we were, and he wasn't one of these Africans who said, well, I'm an African and I don't have any connection to that. He invited African scholars and people like W.E.B. Du Bois, who came, and one of the treasured memories I have that we shared was to go to the estate that the Ghanaian government gave to W.E.B. Du Bois.
It was nice.
It was
nice. Yeah.
an estate,
Yes.
you know, because he was an African-American statesman who had written books and so forth. 1992, I didn't know anybody, I had no influence, I had written screenplays, I had done as much as you could do in America, coming from where I come from.
Okay.
I am a graduate of the SWU, the Sidewalk University.
Yes.
I grew up in the basements of Chicago, which meant that if I went to the second floor in some buildings, I would get dizzy.
Well, yes, and I know when we went to Chicago and you tried to show me where you lived, it was a vacant lot. All filled in.
You want to show your wife where you live when you grow up? They had poured cement down into that hole. I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed.
Well, better than if we had to go back and down into that basement.
Into that basement. Okay. Plane over from New York, Ghana. I knew two people, African-American couple who had gone to live there, and I didn't know very much about them until I arrived and spent 2 days with them.
Yes.
And I discovered that I hated them.
Yes, it was an acquaintance that grew to be less than an acquaintance. Yeah.
I explained to them that I would always speak ill of them. What is the expression? Don't speak ill of the dead.
Well.
I'm not into that. Speak ill of whoever you want to speak ill of. I stayed with these two people for 8 months. My first 8 months in Ghana. During that period of time, during that 8 months, I became friends with this man, Mr. Kojoyanka.
Yes. Yes.
Who's written
an extraordinary man.
Something that I think we all should read, but especially African Americans. He has
I'll read the title.
Our Motherland, My Life, and his other book, From Jamestown to Jamestown. He's one of the Africans who knows something about our history. And I'm not saying that in a patronizing way, but I'm just simply saying it. I went to Ghana with no design in mind. I was just going to go there, live for 3 months, and come back to Herb's garage. His rumpus room.
Rumpus room. Yes. Rumpus room. Yes.
As fate would have it, I met Kojoyanka. He wanted to do a West African detective series. He had an idea for it, and he suggested that I would help out. So I did. I came up with the facsimile of a Columbo, Sherlock Holmes, Ghanaian detective. The first detective series in Ghana. They made it plain to me as a writer. I was going to be the writer, director of some things, of some of the shows. No machine guns. No
violence.
Overt sexual, blah, 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 blah. And the show became a West African hit.
Fantastic.
It's due to be revived.
And the name of the show?
Inspector Bediako.
Inspector Bediako.
Inspector Bediako.
The name is even mysterious.
Oh. I forget, I think Bediako is a tree word. I think it means warrior shield or something like that. I can't remember it exactly. But we had a good time. I have to say this. I had one of the most incredibly wonderful times I ever had in my life being in Ghana. I went for 3 months, and I wound up staying 3 years. During that time, I was privileged to suffer the best and the worst. I'm not an Africanista, the guy who says, oh man, I went to Africa and everything was perfect and wonderful. No. We're coming to your part in a minute. I lived in a neighborhood. These people that I lived with lived in a neighborhood in Accra, the capital city, called Osu. So I started off living in Osu. I had some of my wildest dreams realized. Okay, here I am in America. I've had opportunity, like I said, once again, coming from where I came from, which is the basement. I had an opportunity to come to Hollywood through the Watts Writers Workshop, wound up writing some screenplays and a television show or two, and have some books published.
And radio shows.
Radio, well, it happened then. Yes, you're right. So, other than plays themselves, I had to fulfill myself beyond my wildest dream. So, but I had never been given the opportunity to have control of what I did. I wound up in Ghana, and as the director, writer of the Inspector Bediako show, I had, you know, a little clout there. I could tell people what to do.
Yes.
Sometimes I didn't know what to do.
But you figured it out, or you had help.
They figured it out for me. You know?
Yes.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I would say to anybody who went to Ghana now that you would have a much better time than I had. In 1962, the healthcare system was substandard. If you had COVID-19 in 1992, half the place would have been decimated. Now apparently they're handling it in a very efficacious way.
Got that right. What was the money like when you went?
The
CD to the dollar. The CD to the dollar.
The CDs to the dollar. 9,000 to the dollar. Inflation was a mother. 9,000 to the dollar. Okay, coming from a dollar economy, you would have to be very, very, very careful, because you jump in a taxi to go somewhere, and you ask the taxi driver, you know, how much is the fare? He says 18,000 CDs. So you give him $2. So he has $2 in American currency, which might translate to 36,000 CDs in Ghanaian currency. I mean, it was crazy. They were going through that, but they were struggling out of it. They were taxing the rich more. They were having something called value-added tax. They had riots in the streets. I wasn't a part of that, but I sampled Ghana, and I found something that was incredible to me. Number one, we had a lot in common. I love the Ghanaians, and they love me. And I think it has something to do with the fact that I didn't play tourist. When I escaped from this household of these African Americans, the husband and wife that I lived with, when I escaped from them, and I moved into a place of my own, I had a chance to sample a Ghana that you could sample if you were open. I loved the music. The people are warm and gorgeous.
Yes, they are.
Ghanaians,
Yes,
Ghanaians. Let me jump away from me for a minute. I had malaria. I went out. I came back in, and then I got married to Zola Salena, and we went back to Ghana for the first time in
2013.
Okay, what happened?
2013.
My time.
Now, you know, when you meet a man and he tells you he's done this, he's done that, he's done this, he's done that. And sometimes you're like, you did all that? And you graduate from DuSable High School.
No, SW first.
SW.
I went to DuSable, was my university.
Yes, okay. And just his life in general, when he was telling me, it's almost like a novel from a novelist. So we were in Ghana in a taxi cab. I was concerned because he had his window down and the briefcase with our passports were close to the window. And so I was worried somebody would come along and snatch his briefcase out. But the driver assured me that would not happen. And if somebody did, they would take care of it.
It would be dealt with.
It would be dealt with, yes. Okay. So having that issue kind of resolved, we happened to stop at a light. And a man was sitting on the sidewalk with his
That really
back
big
against,
impression.
yes, he's had to walk his back against the wall. And he looked in the taxi and he pointed. And he said, Odie! Odie, you came back! And I was like, oh, I guess he did come back and go to Ghana. And so with that, I ended up meeting lots of his friends, Susan Amagashi, Pastetti,
Pastor Edwin O'Forty Bar.
Ah, yes, and he's getting ready to have a revival coming up. He's coming, O'Forty Bar, he's getting ready to have some type of convention or
God,
the religious thing, May 6th, I think it is, or May 2nd, something like that.
He was not a very good boy, but he became a great man.
Yes, he did, definitely. And lovely family, wife and family.
Hello, Esther.
Yes, definitely. Esther.
Esther.
Esther was his mother. Is that the one who... Oh, Esther from the...
His wife. It's Edwin.
Okay, Esther's wife. Okay, yes, definitely. Okay, so many names. And who else? Leonard Kennedy.
Look. When you go to a place like Ghana, and you come back years later with your wife, which means that you are at least a decent man,
yes,
and you show her off like she's a jewel, which she is. Obviously, you can see that.
Thank you.
When you go around and about, and like you say about the man's name you're thinking about is Atu.
Yeah.
Atu was a carpenter when I met him.
Uh-huh.
He was a member of the community of Osu. Like I said, I lived in the community. I lived in a neighborhood. It was a very poor neighborhood. It reminded me so much of the West Side that I used to think I understood what people were saying when they were speaking in God.
I understand.
Somebody walking down, tell your thing!
Right.
Me head your bar!
When we were at the airport, you were trying to get your old taxi cab driver, and we couldn't. We ended up getting Kofi. And Kofi was a jewel of a driver. He took such good care of us. He was like our own son. Totally appreciated that.
You find I think you find it happening. I don't want to incriminate anybody, but there's an African American who goes to Africa. I've met some of them. I only speak personally, who think that they are royalty returning. And you know, the people who say to them, "Where's your grandfather? Where's your great grandfather buried?"
Right.
You don't know.
No.
What language does your great great grandfather speak? You don't know.
Right.
What are you doing here? You don't know. Okay, in many cases you are, I think, much wiser to simply say, no, you discover me. You don't know where I come from.
Right.
You know, I'm from Barbados. I'm from Jamaica, man. I'm from Kua.
Yeah.
Do you know this part? I wound up in Ghana, for example, at one point teaching a writing class at the Ghana Girls Secondary School.
Yes.
And you've heard the story 100 times.
Tell it again, please.
When I came in, you know, and the class was filled with these interesting young ladies who wanted to learn something about writing. Actually, they wanted to take a peek at the little writing instructor who seemed to be full of himself, and I was. So I asked, you know, I know something about Ghana. I made an effort to study something about Ghana before I came. What do you guys know about me, about African Americans? Blank. Ghana,
Unfortunately.
secondary school. 2 days later, Fatima Nelson came to class, all bursting out with, I can tell you what I know something about. I said, okay, well, let's share it with the class. She opened up this book. It says right here, in many years gone by, many Africans from West Africa went to the New World to help build up the new. So whoa, wait a minute.
Better do rest, but yes.
Who? What is from one of these little English, little English men's books?
Whitewashing it, yes.
With polished up history, colonial. Oh no, Fatima. That's completely incorrect.
Incorrect.
Ever since 1995, when I got back from Africa for the first time, I pushed for African American studies in African schools, because in many cases you find people, I'm not including Kojo Yanka because he knows his African Americans,
Right.
but in many cases the Africans who have not been educated about where their ancestors were taken
Right.
look at the diaspora as though it were a catastrophe that they had nothing to do with.
Right.
I don't know how many times I heard somebody say, well, I went to see the movie Sankofa by the Ethiopian American filmmaker, and they had people walk out of the theaters. Why are they doing that? They don't relate to that. They don't think it has anything to do with them.
But some of them, and I think I would suggest that it may be more quote unquote educated, because you had Leonard Kennedy, and he said yes, his people had dealt into slavery.
Let me introduce you to Leonard Kennedy. Leonard is a young man that we enticed, I would like to say, commissioned to write these little banglets. This is a bangle. On this one, it says, I can't breathe. Can you see that better?
Yes, it says I.
He weaves these. We suggested red, black, and green.
Yes.
We suggested red, black, and green.
I can't read. Yeah. And so.
Zola and I went to Ghana after I had my 3-year period. Years later,
2013,
things happened.
2014.
Years later. What year was it?
2013 and 14.
2013.
And 14.
We went back, and so many African Americans, unarmed African American men, but also women and children. I think you could call it the new lynching era. So many of us were being shot dead by the police that we wanted to have something like a memorial, something that would entice people to remember what happened. So we commissioned Leonard Kennedy to do, this one was for Eric Garner in New York, Staten Island. And the murders, which have always been happening, but not videoed,
Right.
the murders were happening so frequently that we had to cut off the commission with Leonard because we couldn't keep up. I don't want to go and try to do the litany of what would be there. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, I mean, you know, Jacob Blake, you just keep going on. And the most recent would be George Floyd and Andrew Brown in North Carolina.
Well, you know, if we commission
and others that we don't know anything about.
Well, if we were to commission him, I would like him to do some type of positive statement. Yeah, you know.
Well, you know, it'll get to that. Anyway, we went back to the place that I love. I think of Ghana as home. I think of America as my place. I was brought here and I found my spot and I've done the best I could.
But there's something in our DNA that makes us comfortable with Africa. I mean, even the food.
Us.
Yes,
some people know.
Some of us, yes. Some of us who DNA, I would say, is not as strongly connected. You know,
I think
almost like our ancestors are calling to us. Or
I think it was seen. We went to Quatson's one day. It was this, what you might call a supermarket in Accra, in the downtown area. And Zola was there shopping. And I can remember a shopping trip that I took one day where an African American woman who was dressed in all the latest chic Afrique clothes and so on and so on came over to me because she recognized me as being one of her tribe and said, "My God, these people they're so slow to pick up on things." And she was distressed by the fact that she went to the post office and they had no postage stamps. Well, she was distressed by...
They were open so she could mail something. They were open if she had
Well, she didn't want...
She didn't want to look at it positive.
That's a real great point,
okay,
because...
She didn't look at it positive.
You have to look at the causation, at the causal agent, as they call it in legal terms, the catalyst. And if you don't do that, if you're not willing to find out what is what or what happened, then you'll simply be blaming current circumstances, and current circumstances definitely do not reflect what happened.
Right.
Okay, having said that, what happened on the second trip? We went back to Ghana.
There was Herte on the first trip. She worked in the kitchen. Then there's Fatima, right, on the second trip, who gives great hugs. She's a cook there. And we really enjoyed ourselves. The second trip is when I got to meet Kojo Yanka and his wonderful wife. And, you know, we went to their place by the ocean.
Read from Jamestown to Jamestown. There's a section of Accra.
There was a section
of Accra called Jamestown.
Yes, but they obliterated
I don't know why it's called Jamestown.
Yes, but they obliterated it lately. They
did?
Yeah, they had to clean it up, I guess, for the tourists. There were so many African Americans and tourists coming there, and people who had lived in Jamestown for years, you know, generations.
Not a decent place to live, I'm telling you.
Not at all. I mean,
when I lived in Ghana, you didn't want to go to Jamestown.
Okay. The worst parts of Harlem or Watts would look like Beverly Hills or an elite place compared to...
And the hustle is on! The hustle is on!
Yeah.
Come, madame, let me take you and buy you something that you will pay for me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that sounds like a scam. Oh, I don't believe you are saying to me, your African brother, that I am going to scam you?
Yes.
Oh, no.
You certainly aren't. Yeah. But then, you know, there are those, and, you know, there's scammers all over the world. But they're also very good people. And
we could go on and on for a long time.
What do we eat? One of your friends had us, besides the country kitchen, one of the friends, we went to his backyard and
you can have what you like to eat, which is not anything like you might have here. You won't find barbecued ribs. You won't.
Oh,
Of
maybe
course, we
not.
don't eat
Yeah.
that anymore.
Anyway.
But collard greens are hard to find. It's kind of an interesting place. What it says to you when you go there is that you're in a foreign country, and the customs are slightly different. I mean, for example, the serious people wash their right hands before they eat with their hands. A lot of very sophisticated modern Ghanaians wouldn't think of eating with their hands, but when you go to more traditional places, you wash your right hand. You don't sow the soles of your feet. You are very respectful to elders.
Very,
you don't
very nice.
Speak out of turn. People with loud voices are considered, I would say in French, somewhat gauche.
Yes, yes. I've never been called mommy and you daddy so much by those who gave respect.
Yes,
Which
yes.
was, yeah, which was nice.
Let's end it on this note if we can.
Yes, please.
When you live in a place where people respect their elders and consider that each elder who knows something is a library, and when that library dies, the knowledge is buried. I think it would be something very apt for a lot of our young people to consider. For example, and I'll end this on this note, some of the young people who are marching through the streets these days had no idea that there was a Martin Luther King Jr. They barely recognized John Lewis at the Pettus Bridge and all of that. But when they see the videos and they see themselves marching through the streets being assaulted by police, then they begin to realize that this has happened before.
Yes, yes.
When our vote is being circumscribed, that is to say, oppressed, depressed, withdrawn, you'll know that as long as we're in America and as long as we are Africans in America, we're always going to have to fight for our rights. Having said that, thank you so much.
On a positive note, wishing well all of our friends in Ghana. Keep
And you're
us
drinking
in touch.
palm. It's a good drink, pomegranate juice.
Pomegranate juice.
I would
Okay.
say,
Do you approve, Susan? And what's her friend?
try tea, chai.
Yeah, what's her friend? Susan's friend that sings.
Which one?
The one that was at the nightclub we met. The nice brown skinned lady that we met at something Brothers.
She's thinking.
I'm thinking, what was her name?
This is no rush thing here.
No.
We end when we end.
Okay, now Susan sat there. Then Mata Man. What's the name? Yeah,
Keep on going, baby. I'm with you.
okay. Oh, I can't remember the name.
What you got in that?
Well, I'd only met her once.
I actually know who you're talking about, but I can't think about it. It was a woman.
Yeah.
And she said,
And she sang a little bit for us, okay? And she had problems with her leg at one time, okay? But Mata Man, whatever, he wanted her to sing in his club. And I think her name started with an A or an H. I don't know. Susan, tell me, okay? Text me and let me know who's your friend that we met at the club.
oh, you talking about Rama Brew?
Rama Brew, yes.
I knew
Rama
it all the
Brew.
time.
Oh, you're wrong. He does that too. Rama Brew. Hi, Rama Brew. How you doing? Okay.
She couldn't remember your name because I stole it from her.
Well, to all of you, I hope that we see you again in the near future as soon as the COVID situation is over. Be sure to wear your mask. Be sure to get vaccinated. Be sure to take time to enjoy life.
We'll see you back Monday.
Yes, on Monday.
We'll be back on Monday.
Okay. for another Moments in Time. And
You got that. You got that, didn't you? A moment in time. Did you see that moment in time?
Moments in Time. And next Moments in Time, we will share some of our photographs with you.
Oh, great, great.
Right.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.
A moment in time. I got a nice song that would go with that. A moment in time. Hey, hey, hey. A moment in time.
Got it. I zoomed in on you. I zoomed in on you.
A moment in time.
Moments in Time. See you next time.